We just have about 1 more minute to go. Sudarshan, your views on ONGC, GAIL, the possibility of the concern that the subsidy burden will flow through to these companies. Would you short any of them?
Well, ONGC should open lower, and I don't know whether that's a short at lower levels. But even at current levels, the other oil marketing companies are short-selling ideas, and GAIL has been relatively very strong. It's a buy on dips.
Okay. Mitesh, anything else you want to add? You have about 20 seconds.
Not really. I think I would have wanted to short the energy stocks given the fact that that's the lowest opening index, but then they're opening two-way down. So maybe on a bounce back, we would want to explore that.
Okay. Well, that sets us up for the opening. I would still believe that the macros have improved today. Rupee is a tad stronger, or at least steady, and bond yields are a bit lower. Crude, of course, is lower. So that should all add up to something positive, though the pre-market is giving us a little bit of a red. Okay, the first tick is 1% down. So egg on our face for the moment, Anuj. 100 down on the Nifty and 250 down on the Sensex. A rather nasty opening. Nastier than what even the SGX Nifty told us. Mid-caps down about 0.7 and the Bank Nifty down 0.5%. Let's see if it holds there. It's a brutal first cut, but let's see to what extent this negativity continues. Let me start with the Green Brigade first, because Titan stands out after its guidance. It's up 2.3%, 2.7 actually. Indiabulls Housing also is raising its head, as are some of the financials. Yes Bank is again put on another 1.3. Indiabulls, I told you, about 1%. Tata Motors, Infosys, Asian Paints, Tata Steel, HCL Tech. So largely tech companies. NTPC, the safe haven, so to speak. L&T, UPL are some of the green stocks, but there are many, many, many more red stocks, and the market's now, put on more on the red side. 1.25% knocked off, 1% knocked off on the Sensex. The mid caps are almost heading to a 1% cut. Bank Nifty remains at a 0.5% lower. Brutal cuts on the OMCs, brutal, 20% down on all of them. Market voting with their feet, as it were, the investors. I mean, we don't care if you're going to extend your fiscal problems to the P&Ls of oil marketing companies, is what they are screaming at the government. So the top 5 losers are all oil-related PSUs. IOC, BPCL, HP, ONGC, GAIL. GAIL and ONGC, the losses are slightly less, and by slightly less, I mean 10% down. The others are 20% down. Then come the other stocks, Tech Mahindra. Why? Because Vineet Nair has other responsibilities. That one's taken a bit of a knock. Hindalco, Reliance. Reliance is pulling its weight with the bears. So clearly, there are people who are still selling India or selling the market. TCS and Reliance both are down. So clearly, the negativity on India, EMs, is continuing, is overpowering whatever minor positives we have got from crude.
Oh, absolutely. And there's a clear disappointment that the market is showcasing on the government's reimposition of, price controls. I mean, look at BPCL. It's 25% knocked down now. HPCL, IOC, a lot of the other stocks as well. The concern is that the subsidy burden could flow through to ONGC, Oil India, GAIL. All these stocks are down. ONGC is down 13% right now, and big volumes getting traded on these names. Oil India, MRPL. In fact, there is a view now that, investors may think twice about even investing in all PSUs. So you're seeing a lot of PSU stocks under pressure this morning. I mean, look at names like MRPL, etc., 10% knockdown straight away there. That whole pocket is under pressure right now. Apart from that, you have selling seen in technology stocks, so don't lose sight of that. Tech Mahindra is down 2.5%. You have Hexaware that's down about 3.5%, and a lot of these non-index large cap stocks are selling off as well. So Page Industries, Godrej Consumers, Imami, Jubilant Foods, Crompton Consumers, the whole consumption basket is starting to sell off yet again, not looking good. As I was mentioning earlier, there was an unwarranted move in the aviation stocks yesterday. A lot of that is coming off this morning. Interglobe Aviation is down almost about 2%. Jet Airways is down almost about 4%. And oil and gas stocks are, thrashed now. So something like a Petnet LNG is also under pressure. On the upside, though, Titan is up 2%. on the back of the Q2 update, which is positive. Infosys is holding up just a tad bit. A couple of others like ILNFS Investment Managers, etc., doing okay, but that's a penny stock now. But otherwise, it's another triple-digit cut that you're seeing. So weak opening.
A weak opening. The Bank Nifty is trying to recover. I think the stock...
Even the Nifty is recovering okay.
Yeah, the Nifty is recovering as well. I think the clear thrashing that you're seeing on oil marketing companies, and some of them still not recovering from circuit. And I think the extension of that would be on Engineers India. Just keep an eye on that stock, because that is really, the bulk of Engineers India work is about oil marketing companies. And if oil marketing companies derate, then there's no reason why Engineers India should not derate. And I think you'll see that also play out. In fact, the entire PSU basket is seeing quite a bit of selling. And that should, I think, continue for now. But Ashwini, your thoughts on market opening, and is there any interesting stock idea?
Just get long on Bank Nifty. Even while Bank Nifty was going down early in the morning, there was buying on, Bank Nifty futures.
Yeah.
Futures will not let the market fall today. 10,500 was a bit of a support. And the way, Axis Bank, Canara Bank, IndusInd, etc. have opened, I think Bank Nifty could have a serious rally, maybe 150, 200 points. Nifty will underperform because of oil, etc. But I think the clear upside is visible both on Bank Nifty as well as IT. Since banks is where the short positions are there, my sense is that's where the covering will also be there. So try to buy, this Axis Bank, ICICI Bank, and the ones where there's a bit of bounce on the corporate lending side.
Ashwini, the market went to your Nifty target of 10,470 and bounced so sharply from that point. It's a good 50-point jump from that mark. In fact, 55-point jump from that mark. Any Nifty trade now?
See, Nifty will underperform Bank Nifty, but surely it will also go up because oil marketing, etc., don't have that kind of weightage. But between the two, I would still choose the Bank Nifty, because once Bank Nifty recovers, Nifty is bound to recover. But the way we've opened, I think there is a bit of relief, and maybe the markets want to go into the policy on a positive note, expecting other things other than the rate cut. So that way, the open itself has kind of been rejected at lower levels, and the market should have another 50-70 point rally from here.
Yes, perhaps we may not have egg on our face, Lata, for all you know. I mean, the call is about the the second half, more importantly. But anyway, let's look at some more stocks. Jubilant Foodwork is down another 3%, but on the upside, Eicher Motors is bouncing back. So 3% higher is what you have on Eicher Motors right now. Sudarshan, your thoughts on market opening and any stock idea?
Well, the markets have opened where the SGX was suggesting, and that cash difference between the cash and the futures was probably only just on paper. We look at the Nifty futures. I do not think there is any opportunity to trade till the bank, RBI policy comes in. We are going to see a lot of volatility. 100-point moves in the Nifty bank could come about in every 10 minutes. So where do you put stops? Where do you put targets? That problem will come in Nifty and Nifty bank both. But today could be the first day in the afternoon when volatility could subside. So perhaps a late trade could come in.
Okay, well, for now, a lot of the consumption names are under pressure. So whether it's Jubilant Foods, you have, something like a Crompton Consumer. Imami is down almost about 2% odd. Just keep an eye out on that pocket. But there is definitely a recovery in the market. The Bank Nifty has now moved into the green. So there's a lot of volatility as well.
And the Sensex looks like it'll follow.
Yeah.
Just 0.1 down.
Yeah, it's hardly in the red now, the Sensex. So a lot of recovery is what you're seeing just in the last 5 minutes. Mitesh, any thoughts on market opening and any individual stocks that stand out for you?
Yeah, I think not the stock, but I think on individual basis we have bought Bata. I think that was a morning recommendation as well, and also some calls on the Nifty. I might agree with Ashwini in the sense that the Bank Nifty might outperform given the fact that it's not falling as severely for the last 2 days purely because of the OMC weightage, etc. But my sense is that I think Nifty opening today was very unreal and very close to important support zones of 10,430, where a lot of consolidation historically about 6-8 months back had taken place. So I think good levels to go along over here. You might not get, as I said, I think might not get a big reversal, but 2-3 day kind of an uptrend could happen. And today's morning, clearly the movement suggests in the first 10 minutes that we have made possibly one low for which could last for next few days.
Okay. Ashwini, what's the big call for the day? Going with Bank Nifty?
Big call is that hardly now 3 banks are in the negative. In fact, 2 banks, HDFC Bank and State Bank. So my sense is that there should be somewhat of a recovery. This does not mean this is the bottom, but it means that for the moment the selling may have been done, and even the shorts may take the foot off the pedal and look for higher levels to go short if they have to. But I think today Bank Nifty could substantially outperform.
Okay, that's an important point that Ashwini made. Perhaps may not be the bottom, but just for intraday and for the near term, a bit of a bottom process. Thanks a lot, gentlemen, for joining us, and of course we'll come back to you. Sanjeev, thanks to you as well for taking time out and answering all our queries. We have Sridhar Shivram, Investment Director of Enam Holdings, now joining us. Sridhar, good morning.
Good morning.
So, a bit of a deja vu, right, in terms of how this whole petrol, diesel and, crude prices, they have panned out. And then, as they say, government sometimes will act similar to what they did last time. Is this a big market risk, or is the market making too much out of it right now?
Well, I'm not a big fan of PSU stocks in general, but I think markets were smarter than a lot of us because these stocks were correcting even right from January as the crude prices were going up. So I think the markets were smart enough to know that at some point or the other this would happen. This is just a culmination of what happened yesterday. Yeah. I'll not make too much out of this. This is not large part of the market. This is much smaller in terms of the market cap and the overall impact to the market. Yes, it does have an impact on the overall reform process and the sentiments that people look at. But I wouldn't, use this as a barometer to judge whether the markets should, whether people should buy India or not.
Okay, no, fair point actually. I mean, not too many people have faith in the fiscal numbers anyway to make much of this 6,000 crore loss because of the OMC price fuel excise cut. Now, I want to ask you about global macros actually. Right. Crude is something people can't predict, but you can predict to some extent the US yields. Yes. Is that going to be a continual negative?
Well, it is. I mean, normally when you have such situations where US interest rates are going up, emerging markets generally underperform. That's what we've seen. Even if you see emerging markets as of yesterday were down about 12-13% in dollar terms, and India was down about 15%. So we're roughly ballpark there. I mean, today's fall would be slightly more. But within that, is camouflaged where, the countries which have slightly weaker macros, their currencies are down 30-40%, the markets are down 50%, and some of the large markets are down significantly. So I would say on the overall scheme of things, emerging markets in a tough spot, but this has happened before. I mean, 2013 is something that we can't forget, where emerging markets had similar crisis, and then we had emerging markets come back in 14 and 15, and so did India. So I won't be so worried right now that interest rates are going up. Also keep in mind that global growth is also going up. So US growth is going up. EM
growth is going down.
EM growth is going down in pockets. So China is still growing, may not be at 7 and 8% that they were growing. India is also growing. So it isn't as if EM is not growing. It is just the pace of growth has slowed down. And there is a reset, and that's what we are seeing in emerging markets right now. Reset in terms of where currencies were for emerging markets, and reset in terms of where the markets are.
So basically, therefore, you're a buyer now, you would say?
I would say yes. I mean, these are very interesting times as far as I'm concerned. I'm reminded to 2013, where we had similar crisis, where crude was... We forget that crude was almost 80 even at that point of time. And we had a currency issue at that point of time. People were worried about growth. People were worried about elections because we had state elections then also, and we had, another election.
Take that point. Just give me 2 minutes because, we have M.K. Surana, CMD of HPCL now joining us. Mr. Surana, good morning.
Good morning.
Your thoughts on yesterday's big movement? I'm sure you've seen the stock prices. Of course, that's not your prerogative. But your thoughts on the government asking oil marketing companies to also absorb the burden.
Yeah, I heard the finance minister yesterday saying that. The first thing is that it is a prerogative of the government on the day to take the interventions which they deem fit. in the overall interest of the economy. So on that, I got no comment to that effect. As far as the company is concerned, I personally believe that this looks to be more a short-term measure rather than a policy intervention to that effect. And while it will have some impact in the profitability of the company in a shorter run, but we will try to ensure that the impact of that is mitigated by other means. And to that effect, the profitability of the company is least impacted by that.
Okay. What other means? What options at all do you have, Mr. Surana?
So we'll work it out. We will try to do it. See, the oil industry is a industry where you always have the new things developing, and the companies have shown the resilience in the past as well. So this is not the first time that we are going through a phase of higher crude prices or some interventions, policy interventions to make oil companies absorb a part of it. In the past also it has happened. The companies have shown resilience, and to ensure that the companies are, their bottom lines are kept green, and we will kept black, and we will try to ensure.
So what percentage of HPCL's value comes from marketing itself? I mean, what percentage of the business? And can you give us an indication of what the impact on profits could be ballpark over the next 1 to 2 years?
No, because I do not think that this is a permanent measure as such. Means at least I do not have any indication or input to suggest or convince myself that this is going to be a permanent feature. And this is more a short-term measure to take care of the higher prices of the crude coupled with the dollar prices. And in the future, I think we should be able to do something to reduce.
Okay, Mr. Surana, if you can only give us the impact for the second half, for these two quarters, what may be the impact of this
No, we need to work it out, because I'm not sure that how the crude prices are going to be behave in the immediate future. So if it would be permanent that, okay, crude prices are going to be this, then I would have been able to do it.
Okay, sir.
Thank you.
We'll leave it at that. Thank you very much for joining us. Yes, admit that you can't predict how crude prices will go, nor can he predict how government will behave.
Okay. Well